Have you ever noticed how people change the moment money enters their life? Suddenly they start showing off, posting every purchase, every trip, every success, as if recognition proves happiness. But the wisest and most stable people often do the opposite. The more money they earn, the quieter they become. In today's world, success is treated like a performance. Social media encourages constant comparison, and attention grows as wealth appears. This can quietly create pressure, stress, and ego-driven decisions. Buddhist wisdom teaches that money itself is not dangerous, but the way your mind reacts to it can quietly destroy your peace, your relationships, and your clarity. In this video, we will explore 7 powerful Buddhist lessons about what to do when money starts coming into your life. These lessons are not about becoming rich. They are about staying calm, wise, and free while prosperity grows around you. Because sometimes the smartest thing you can do when money arrives is to stay quiet and stay wise. Silence protects your fortune. When money begins to enter your life, one of the strongest impulses people feel is the desire to announce it. In today's world, this impulse has become even stronger because success is no longer shared quietly between close friends or family. It is broadcast everywhere. People post new purchases on social media, talk about income, show luxury experiences, and reveal every visible sign that their financial situation has improved. The modern culture of constant sharing makes it feel normal to display prosperity as proof that life is finally moving forward. But Buddhist wisdom approaches this situation very differently. It teaches that the moment wealth becomes something you feel the need to display, it also becomes something that begins attracting unnecessary attention, expectations, and hidden tension from the people around you. Not everyone who sees your progress will feel genuine happiness for you. Some people will congratulate you while silently measuring their life against yours. Others may begin to feel that you now have a responsibility to solve their problems because they believe your financial success means you have unlimited resources. In many situations, the pressure does not come from strangers, but from people who already exist within your circle. Friends may begin expecting favors, relatives may assume financial support is now your obligation, and acquaintances who once had little interest in your life may suddenly appear with opportunities, requests, or emotional stories that quietly place responsibility on your shoulders. None of this begins with hostility. It begins with awareness. The moment people become aware that your financial situation has changed, their perception of you changes as well. In modern life, this effect spreads faster than ever before because information travels instantly. A single post, a single comment about a successful investment, a single display of luxury can spread through networks of people you may not even interact with regularly. Conversations start forming around your success, assumptions begin developing about your lifestyle, and slowly your private financial growth becomes a topic of public discussion. This creates a form of pressure that many people do not expect when they first experience financial progress. Instead of enjoying stability and focus, they find themselves constantly managing attention, expectations, and social comparisons that were never part of their original journey. Silence protects you from this unnecessary noise. When financial growth remains quiet, your mind remains free from the emotional pressure that comes from being constantly observed. You are able to focus on long-term stability instead of short-term validation. Your decisions remain guided by wisdom rather than influenced by how others may react to your success. This is why, in many Buddhist teachings, silence is described as a form of protection. It prevents the ego from growing too quickly and prevents outside influence from interfering with your inner balance. In the natural world, valuable things develop quietly. A seed grows underground long before anyone sees a tree. Deep roots form in silence before branches ever appear above the surface. If the seed were constantly exposed before it was strong enough to grow, it would never survive the environment around it. Prosperity follows a similar pattern. Financial stability requires patience, discipline, and consistent decision-making over long periods of time. When it becomes surrounded by noise, attention, and social comparison, those distractions slowly weaken the clarity needed to protect it. Remaining quiet about money does not mean pretending you are struggling or living in fear of other people's reactions. It simply means you understand that recognition is not necessary for success to exist. A wise person measures progress through stability, not applause. They allow their life to improve quietly, while their focus remains on growth, security, and inner balance. Instead of turning financial progress into a performance, they treat it as a responsibility that must be handled with awareness and discipline. Many people believe success becomes real only when others see it. Buddhist wisdom teaches the opposite perspective. Success becomes strongest when it does not depend on being seen at all. When money enters your life and your first instinct is to stay calm, stay disciplined, and stay quiet, you protect both your wealth and your peace of mind at the same time. Because in the modern world, where everyone feels pressure to show everything they achieve, the person who moves in silence often protects more than their fortune. They protect their clarity, their relationships, and their ability to continue growing without the distractions that attention inevitably brings. Money reveals the true state of your mind. Many people spend years believing that money will solve most of their problems. They imagine that once their income grows, life will finally become easier, calmer, and more secure. They picture a future where financial stability automatically removes stress, replaces worry with comfort, and gives them the peace they have been searching for. This belief is deeply rooted in modern society because people are constantly told that wealth is the ultimate solution to struggle. But Buddhist wisdom presents a much more honest and revealing truth. Money does not change the mind. It reveals the true condition of the mind that already exists. If a person carries anxiety, insecurity, and constant fear within themselves, money rarely removes those feelings. Instead, it often magnifies them in new ways. Before wealth arrives, the mind worries about survival, bills, and opportunities. After wealth arrives, the mind begins worrying about losing money, protecting investments, maintaining status, and staying ahead of others. The external situation changes, but the restless nature of the mind remains the same. The person who constantly lived in fear of not having enough may eventually begin living in fear of losing what they now have. This pattern can be seen everywhere in modern life. Many individuals who achieve financial success still live under intense pressure because their identity becomes connected to their wealth. Their sense of value becomes tied to numbers, assets, and public perception. If their income fluctuates or their business slows down, their peace of mind immediately becomes unstable. The mind begins reacting as if personal worth is being threatened. This is why wealth alone cannot create stability. If the mind was never trained to remain calm, financial success simply gives the mind a larger stage on which to express its fears. Buddhist teachings often emphasize that the mind is the true source of both suffering and peace. When the mind is undisciplined, it constantly searches for something outside itself to create happiness. First, it believes happiness will arrive through possessions. Then it believes happiness will arrive through recognition, power, or influence. But every time one desire is fulfilled, another quickly replaces it. The cycle continues endlessly because the mind has not learned how to be satisfied with the present moment. When money enters the life of someone who has trained their mind differently, the experience becomes completely different. A person who has cultivated awareness, discipline, and emotional balance does not treat money as the source of their identity. They see it as a tool that can improve stability and provide opportunities, but they do not allow it to define who they are. Because their peace was never dependent on money in the first place, their mental state remains steady, whether their wealth increases or decreases. In today's world, this distinction is extremely important. Social media and modern culture constantly encourage comparison. People are surrounded by images of luxury lifestyles, business success stories, and displays of wealth that create the illusion that everyone else is moving ahead faster. Without mental discipline, these comparisons create a constant sense of pressure. A person may earn more money than ever before, and still feel behind because the mind continues measuring itself against others. But a trained mind understands something simple and powerful. Financial success does not determine the quality of a person's inner life. Someone with great wealth can still feel restless, dissatisfied, and emotionally exhausted if their mind remains trapped in comparison and attachment. At the same time, a person with moderate resources can live with deep stability and gratitude if their mind has learned to appreciate enough rather than constantly chasing more. When money comes into your life, it becomes a mirror reflecting the habits of your mind. If your mind is calm, disciplined, and grounded in awareness, money becomes a useful instrument that supports your life without controlling it. If the mind is driven by ego, fear, and comparison, money becomes another source of pressure that demands constant attention. This is why Buddhist wisdom always focuses on training the mind before chasing success. A stable mind can manage wealth without becoming attached to it, while an unstable mind can turn even abundance into suffering. The real question is not how much money enters your life. The real question is whether your mind has developed the clarity and strength to remain balanced when it does. The ego wakes up when wealth arrives. One of the most dangerous changes that can happen when money begins to enter a person's life is not visible in their bank account, their house, or their lifestyle. The real change often happens quietly inside the mind. When financial success appears, the ego begins to wake up. At first, it is subtle and almost invisible. A person may simply feel more confident, more secure, and more respected by others. But if awareness is not present, that confidence can slowly transform into something more dangerous. The mind begins to believe that the new financial position proves personal superiority. Instead of seeing money as a result of circumstances, discipline, and opportunity, the ego starts telling a different story. It whispers that the success happened because you are smarter, more capable, and more important than the people around you. In today's world, this transformation happens easily because society constantly links wealth with status. People with money are often treated differently. They receive more attention, more admiration, and more opportunities. Their opinions are heard more carefully, and their presence is often valued more highly in social environments. Over time, this external validation can reshape how a person sees themselves. Without realizing it, they may begin to measure their worth through financial power rather than through character, wisdom, or humility. The ego thrives in this environment because it enjoys comparison. It constantly observes who has less, who has more, and where it stands in the hierarchy of success. This mindset quietly changes behavior. A person who once valued simplicity may start chasing recognition. Someone who once respected others equally may begin judging people based on financial status. Conversations may shift from meaningful discussions to subtle displays of success, where people prove their achievements through stories, purchases, or lifestyle choices. The more this pattern continues, the more the ego strengthens its influence over the mind. Eventually, a person may no longer recognize the quiet humility they once had before money arrived. Buddhist teachings warn strongly about this moment because ego is one of the primary causes of suffering. When the ego becomes attached to wealth, it creates a fragile identity. That identity depends on maintaining success, maintaining admiration, and maintaining the image of being ahead of others. The moment something threatens that image, fear immediately appears. A business challenge, an economic shift, or even someone else's success can suddenly feel like a personal attack. The mind begins protecting its status rather than simply living with awareness and balance. Modern life provides many examples of this struggle. People who achieve rapid financial growth sometimes begin living under constant pressure to maintain the lifestyle that now defines their identity. Instead of enjoying freedom, they feel trapped by expectations they created themselves. They fear losing status, losing influence, or losing the admiration that once validated their success. What originally felt like victory slowly becomes a source of mental exhaustion. Buddhist wisdom offers a simple but powerful reminder that protects against this trap. Wealth does not change the fundamental nature of life. Everything still remains temporary. Success rises and falls, markets change, opportunities shift, and circumstances evolve in ways that no person can fully control. When someone remembers this truth, the ego loses much of its power. Financial success becomes something to appreciate rather than something to worship. A wise person understands that money can improve comfort and create opportunities, but it does not make anyone inherently greater than another human being. Every person is still subject to the same universal conditions of change, uncertainty, and impermanence. Recognizing this keeps the mind grounded even when prosperity appears. When money enters your life, humility becomes a form of protection. It reminds you that success is not a permanent identity, but a temporary situation that must be handled with responsibility. The person who remains humble continues learning, continues growing, and continues respecting others regardless of financial position. This attitude keeps the ego quiet and allows wisdom to guide decisions. Because the moment the ego begins believing that wealth makes you superior, the mind also begins living in fear of losing that superiority. And once fear enters the mind, peace slowly disappears, no matter how much money remains in the bank. Quiet success confuses the world. In today's society, people are conditioned to believe that success must be loud. Social media, advertising, and modern culture constantly reward display. New cars, luxury vacations, high-end clothes, expensive gadgets, they all signal to the world that someone has made it. People expect wealth to be visible. They anticipate celebration, posts, announcements, and constant proof that life is moving upward. But Buddhist wisdom teaches a very different approach. The strongest success is often the quietest. When you allow your life to improve without displaying it to everyone, you create freedom that is invisible to the outside world, but deeply protective internally. Quiet success prevents unnecessary attention, shields your peace from jealousy or expectation, and preserves mental clarity. People around you may not fully understand why you are calm while thriving, and that is part of its power. In today's world, where attention is currency, moving silently makes your success far more resilient. Quiet success also allows you to focus on what truly matters: long-term stability, consistent growth, and inner balance. Instead of constantly performing for others, your energy goes into improving your skills, relationships, and life in meaningful ways. You make decisions without the pressure of external validation. You live intentionally, not performatively, and that creates a foundation that is far stronger than any flashy display could offer. Buddhist monks often live simply, yet their lives are rich in awareness, peace, and purpose. They teach us that real value does not come from what others can see, it comes from what the mind can sustain. Similarly, when you handle wealth quietly, you allow it to grow under your control rather than letting the world shape it for you. When money arrives, remember that loudness often attracts envy, stress, and unrealistic expectations, while silence protects, stabilizes, and strengthens. Sometimes the most powerful statement of all is to achieve in quiet and let your results speak without announcing them to the world. Wealth is temporary. Wisdom is permanent. One of the deepest teachings in Buddhism is the understanding of impermanence. Everything in life changes. Circumstances rise and fall. Success appears and disappears. And situations that once seemed stable eventually transform in ways that no one can fully control. This truth applies to every part of life, including money. Wealth often creates the illusion that life has finally become secure, that the struggles of the past are over, and that the future will now follow a predictable and comfortable path. But history, experience, and reality constantly remind us that financial success is never guaranteed to remain forever. In today's world, this truth becomes even clearer because economic conditions can change rapidly. Markets rise and fall, businesses grow and collapse, technology replaces entire industries, and opportunities that once looked permanent suddenly disappear. Many people who once enjoyed great financial success have experienced how quickly circumstances can shift when global events, economic downturns, or unexpected challenges arrive. These changes do not always happen because someone made a mistake. Sometimes they simply happen because life itself is constantly moving and evolving. When people become deeply attached to money, these changes can create intense emotional suffering. If a person believes that wealth defines their identity or guarantees their happiness, the thought of losing it becomes terrifying. Their mind begins living in constant tension, always calculating risks, always worrying about what might happen next. Instead of feeling secure, they feel trapped by the responsibility of protecting something they believe must never disappear. This attachment slowly replaces gratitude with anxiety and replaces freedom with pressure. Buddhist wisdom encourages a different way of seeing wealth. Instead of treating money as something permanent or as the foundation of personal worth, it teaches that money should be viewed as a temporary condition that can support life but should never control the mind. When you understand that wealth is part of the changing nature of existence, you stop clinging to it with fear. You appreciate it while it is present, you use it responsibly, and you remain mentally prepared for the possibility that life may change again in the future. This perspective does not make a person careless about money. In fact, it often makes them wiser and more disciplined. Someone who understands impermanence becomes more thoughtful about how wealth is used. Instead of chasing endless luxury or constantly trying to prove success, they focus on building stability, developing useful skills, strengthening relationships, and cultivating inner wisdom. They understand that money can disappear, but character, knowledge, and awareness remain powerful resources that cannot easily be taken away. In modern society, many people invest enormous energy into building financial wealth while neglecting the development of wisdom. They spend years learning how to increase income, but very little time learning how to maintain peace of mind. As a result, even when money arrives, their inner world remains unstable. The mind continues searching for validation, comparison, and constant achievement because it has never learned how to feel complete without external proof. Wisdom creates a completely different experience of prosperity. When a person develops patience, awareness, humility, and discipline, these qualities remain with them regardless of financial circumstances. If wealth grows, they manage it with clarity and responsibility. If life changes and resources decrease, they adapt without losing their sense of identity or emotional balance. Their stability comes from within rather than from the numbers attached to their name. This is why many Buddhist teachings emphasize the cultivation of wisdom above the pursuit of wealth. Money can create comfort and opportunity, but wisdom creates resilience. A person with great wealth but little wisdom can lose everything and feel completely lost. A person with wisdom, however, carries a form of wealth that continues guiding them no matter where life leads. When money enters your life, remembering the temporary nature of wealth keeps the mind balanced. It prevents arrogance when success appears and prevents despair if circumstances eventually change. Instead of building your entire identity around financial success, you begin building something much stronger. You build a mind that remains steady in both prosperity and difficulty. Because while money can appear and disappear many times throughout a lifetime, the wisdom you develop through awareness, discipline, and humility becomes a form of wealth that continues guiding your life long after circumstances have changed. Generosity keeps wealth from controlling you. When money begins to grow in a person's life, one of the biggest dangers is not losing it, but becoming controlled by it. At first, money appears as a tool that can improve comfort, reduce struggle, and create opportunities. But without awareness, the relationship between a person and their wealth slowly begins to reverse. Instead of the individual controlling their money, the money begins controlling their thoughts, decisions, and emotional state. Every choice becomes centered around protecting it, increasing it, or comparing it with what others possess. The mind starts calculating constantly, measuring success through numbers and feeling restless whenever those numbers do not grow fast enough. In modern society, this pattern is extremely common. Many people work hard to reach financial success, but once they arrive there, they feel unable to step away from the constant pursuit of more. Even when their basic needs are fully met, their mind continues chasing additional wealth because it has become attached to the feeling of accumulation. The lifestyle grows larger, the expectations grow higher, and slowly the person becomes trapped in a cycle where satisfaction always remains just slightly out of reach. The mind begins believing that peace will finally arrive after the next achievement, the next deal, or the next financial milestone. Buddhist teachings offer a powerful method to prevent this trap: generosity. Generosity does not simply mean giving money away carelessly or seeking praise for acts of charity. True generosity is an attitude of the mind that reminds a person that wealth is meant to circulate and serve a purpose beyond personal comfort. When someone practices generosity with awareness, they break the psychological attachment that often forms around money. The mind stops treating wealth as something that must be guarded with fear and begins seeing it as a resource that can create positive impact. This understanding changes the emotional relationship with money. Instead of feeling anxiety about holding on to every dollar, the mind experiences a sense of freedom. Generosity reminds the individual that their identity is not defined by how much they possess. Their value comes from how they use their resources, how they contribute to the well-being of others, and how their presence improves the lives around them. This perspective keeps the ego from growing too strong and prevents wealth from turning into a source of pride or superiority. In today's world, generosity can take many forms. It may involve supporting family members who truly need help, contributing to community projects, creating opportunities for others through employment, or quietly helping someone overcome a difficult moment in their life. It can also involve sharing knowledge, mentorship, or time with people who are trying to improve their own path. The important element is not the size of the gesture, but the intention behind it. When generosity is sincere, it trains the mind to remain open rather than possessive. Many successful individuals discover that acts of genuine generosity bring a type of satisfaction that money alone cannot create. Purchasing luxury items or achieving financial milestones may bring temporary excitement, but helping someone rebuild their life or supporting a meaningful cause creates a deeper sense of fulfillment. This happens because generosity aligns the mind with compassion rather than competition. Instead of constantly comparing wealth with others, the person begins focusing on the positive difference their resources can create. Buddhist philosophy often describes generosity as one of the foundations of inner freedom. When you learn to give without fear, you weaken the grip that attachment has on your mind. Wealth no longer feels like something fragile that must be protected at all costs. Instead, it becomes a flexible tool that moves through your life with purpose and awareness. This shift allows prosperity to exist without dominating your thoughts or shaping your identity. When money enters your life, generosity becomes a quiet form of discipline. It reminds you that financial success is not the final goal of life, but simply one of many conditions that can be used wisely. The more generosity becomes part of your character, the less power money holds over your sense of self. Because the moment you learn how to use wealth to create value beyond yourself, you also learn something far more important than accumulation. You learn how to remain free from the invisible chains that money can place on the mind. Peace is the real form of wealth. In the modern world, money is often treated as the ultimate measure of success. People spend years chasing higher income, larger businesses, better investments, and more financial security because they believe that once they reach a certain level of wealth, life will finally become peaceful. Society constantly reinforces this belief. Successful people are displayed as examples of happiness, luxury lifestyles are promoted as symbols of fulfillment, and the message is repeated everywhere that having more money means having a better life. But when we look closely at reality, we begin to see a different truth. Many people who achieve great financial success still struggle with anxiety, pressure, and a mind that never truly rests. This happens because peace does not come from the amount of money a person has. Peace comes from the condition of the mind. If the mind is constantly comparing itself to others, chasing approval, and worrying about the future, no amount of wealth will ever feel sufficient. The person may move into a larger house, buy more expensive possessions, or reach financial goals they once dreamed about, yet the mind continues searching for the next achievement that promises satisfaction. Instead of creating peace, wealth can sometimes expand the field of desires. As resources increase, expectations grow. As expectations grow, the mind finds new reasons to remain restless. Buddhist teachings emphasize that true wealth is not measured by accumulation, but by inner stability. A person who can sit quietly without feeling restless, who can sleep peacefully without carrying constant worry, and who can live each day without being controlled by endless desires, possesses a form of wealth that cannot be purchased. This type of richness is invisible to the outside world, but it shapes the entire experience of life. Without inner peace, even the most comfortable environment feels incomplete. With inner peace, even a simple life can feel deeply fulfilling. In today's fast-moving society, maintaining this kind of mental balance requires awareness. People are surrounded by constant stimulation, endless information, and social environments that encourage competition and comparison. Every day there are new examples of someone earning more, achieving more, or displaying a lifestyle that appears more impressive. If the mind becomes trapped in this cycle, it begins believing that happiness always exists somewhere ahead in the future. The present moment becomes something to endure while waiting for a greater level of success. The wise person recognizes this pattern and steps away from it. They understand that money should support life, not dominate it. Financial stability is valuable because it reduces unnecessary struggle and creates freedom to make better choices, but it should never replace the deeper goal of maintaining a calm and balanced mind. When wealth begins creating stress, constant comparison, or endless desire, it stops serving its true purpose. A person who understands real wealth uses money to simplify their life rather than complicate it. They invest in stability, health, meaningful experiences, and opportunities that support long-term well-being. They avoid the trap of constantly proving success to others because they know that external recognition cannot create lasting peace. Their focus remains on living with clarity, gratitude, and balance regardless of how their financial situation changes over time. This perspective creates a powerful form of freedom. When peace becomes the priority, money loses its ability to control emotional stability. Success no longer creates arrogance, and difficulty no longer creates panic. The mind remains steady because it is anchored in something deeper than temporary circumstances. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that the richest person is not the one who possesses the most, but the one whose mind is content and undisturbed. When money enters your life, its greatest value is not in what it allows you to show the world, but in how it allows you to build a life where the mind can finally rest. Because at the end of everything a person achieves, the most valuable form of wealth will always be the same quiet treasure that cannot be stored in a bank account. It is the ability to live with a peaceful mind, free from the endless hunger for more, and grounded in the understanding that true prosperity begins within conclusion. In today's fast-moving world, money often becomes the main measure of success. People work endlessly to earn more, achieve more, and prove that their life is moving forward. But as Buddhist wisdom teaches, the real challenge is not earning money. The real challenge begins when money finally arrives. When wealth enters your life, many hidden pressures appear at the same time. Attention from others increases, expectations grow, comparisons begin, and the ego slowly tries to take control. If the mind is not aware, the same success that once felt like freedom can quietly turn into stress, pride, or constant pressure to maintain status. This is why these lessons matter. Silence protects your fortune. Humility keeps the ego under control, and wisdom reminds you that wealth is temporary, while character and awareness remain with you for life. Generosity keeps money from controlling your heart, and inner peace reminds you that real success is not about how much you have, but how stable and calm your mind remains. So when money comes into your life, Do not let it change your mind or your values. Stay quiet, stay humble, and stay wise, because the people who truly understand prosperity are not the ones who show the most wealth to the world. They are the ones who quietly protect their peace while success grows around them.